Most people know her as a welcoming figure, the Statue of Liberty. She stands tall in New York Harbor, torch raised high, a symbol of freedom and opportunity. But the story that millions of tourists hear, the simple gift from France narrative, obscures something richer, more contested, and far more human. Let's start with something few visitors realize: she wasn't always green. When Statue of Liberty was first assembled, her copper skin was a dark brown, the raw metal color from which she was crafted. The now famous green patina only came later as oxidation naturally occurred over decades. Another thing most people don't know is that this iconic figure was born not in America, but in the workshops of Paris, not originally as a nationalist symbol, but as a universal emblem of liberty. The French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi envisioned a monument celebrating freedom and republican values, in part inspired by the abolition of slavery in France and by revolutions spreading across the world. The original idea was not only American independence, but a broader message of liberty rising over oppression. The statue didn't arrive fully formed either. Its creation was a decades-long struggle of fundraising and political negotiation on both sides of the Atlantic. France funded the construction of the statue itself, but America was supposed to build the pedestal it stood on. That, as it turned out, was a major problem. The US government refused to pay for it. Newspapers sparked public subscriptions and even staged pancake breakfasts to raise money. Everyday citizens, not politicians, ended up financing the platform for this symbol of freedom. And then there's the torch, the part everyone thinks they've seen. The original torch was replaced in 1986 because its interior had deteriorated. The torch visitors see today is akin to the one Lady Liberty held aloft when she was first dedicated in 1886. The original torch, now in a museum, had a copper flame covered with gold leaf. There's also a detail people often walk past without noticing: the broken chains and shackles at her feet. Far from being decorative, they represent something powerful: the breaking of oppression and tyranny, and the hope for a world that practices justice. That wasn't an accidental addition. Bartholdi put them there intentionally. But most visitors focus only on the torch and fail to see the symbolism of liberation at her base. And while we talk about symbolism, here's something many history textbooks skip. The statue was not universally loved when it arrived. Some Americans thought she was too foreign, not patriotic enough, or even too controversial. Some critics said she was a gaudy import. Others argued that the pedestal fundraising was an embarrassment. She wasn't the instantly beloved icon she is today. That reputation was built slowly, through postcards, art, and later newspapers. Even her most famous associated poem, The New Colossus, with its line about "you're tired, you're poor," wasn't written for the statue at all at first. It was added years later and only much later became inseparable from her image. That poem transformed her in the popular imagination from a foreign arrival to a welcoming mother of exiles. But originally she stood silently as a symbol, not as a greeting. In a world where symbols are easily simplified, liberty, freedom, opportunity, the statue's real story reminds us that history is not linear. Symbols are forged from struggle, debate, compromise, and change. She didn't become an icon overnight. Her meaning was debated. Her construction was messy. Her symbolism was and remains contested. But perhaps the most interesting thing they rarely tell visitors is this: the Statue of Liberty is not just a gift. She is a story of two nations grappling with the meaning of freedom, and a reminder that the ideals we honor are always works in progress. If you want to see history beyond the postcard version, the stories behind the symbols, subscribe to The History Vault for more documentary-style explorations every week. Because the deeper truth is always more interesting than myth.